This conference will now be
Madhyamam
recorded.
Asmada Acharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam Ragadirogan Sadada Anushaktan Asheshakaya Prasrudan Asheshan Aulsukya Moha Aradidan Jakhana Yopurva Vaidyaya Namostu Tasmai. So we will continue with our Dravadravya Vidnyaniya chapter. We were discussing about air and Thailam in our last session. Now we will continue with the Sarshaba Thailam. Kadushnam Sarshabam Tikshnam Kabha Shukranilabaham Laghu Pittasrakrit Kodha Kushtarsho Vrana Jendujit. That is what the text is saying. Kadushnam Sarshabam Tikshnam Kabhashukranilabaham Laghu Pittasrakrit Kodha Kushtarsho Vrana Jendujit. Everything is very simple and straightforward. Sarshabam Thailam is Kadu and Ushnam Viryam. It is Tikshnam. It is Kabha Shukra Anila Haram. Kabha Haram, Anila Haram, Shukra Haram. Kabham is a dosham, Anilan is a dosham, then Shukram is a dhadu which is placed in between. So it may be representing its special interest of reducing the Shukra dhadu or affecting the Shukra dhadu negatively. That may be the reason why that dhadu alone is highlighted along with the two doshas. Kabha Shukra Anilabaham. Then it is Laghu Pittasrakrit Pitta Rekta Vardhagam and Kodha Kushtarsho Vrana Jendujit. Kodha Kushtarsho Vrana Jendujit. So in these conditions, it is advised as remedy. So obviously we should understand that in any of this, say for example, we find Kushtam here, and we find that it is Pitta Rekta Vardhagam. So obviously we should understand that this is not good in the Kushta of a Pitta Rekta type, but it will be working in that Kabha Anilabaham. So Kabha Vada predominant Kushtam. Same is the case with Arshas, Vranam, all these things. In everywhere, I think that dosha predominance, what we saw earlier, should be considered. So it is not to be taken for granted as such. It works with all sorts of kodha, all sorts of kushta. It is not like that. Everywhere, in whichever aushadha, whichever yoga we discuss, this concept is very important, and everybody will be knowing what this kodham and everything. In Kshudra Rogam, we find the Utkodham and Kodham Masamyag Vamanodirna Pittashleishmanna Nigrahihi, then Mandalani Adikanduni Ragavanti Bahunicha Utkodhaha, like that. So there is that Kabha predominance. That is what I would like to highlight. So in Kushtam, in Arshas, everywhere that Kabha Haratvam is the point of interest here. Then this Sarshabam Thailam can be seen used in specific conditions in our text, in Ashtanga Hridayam itself. In certain, even though not very common, we can find certain situations where it is advised. There may be a few. I can give a couple of maybe examples, like in Kushtam. For Snehanam, we find this Sarshabhatailam as one which can be used in all sorts of Kushtam for initial Snehanam, but with care. Like that Tavaram, Tuvaraga Tailam and Arushkaraja Tailam. Sarshabam also can be used, but all of these have got some risky elements in it because of their Pittarakta Pradushana property. So use with care. We find Sarveshu cha Arushkarajam Tavaram Sarshabam Pibed Sneham Kridam va Krimijit Patya Bhalladagai Sridam in Kushtam. So Sarveshu cha Arushkarajam Tavaram Sarshabam Pibed Sneham. It is there, but use with care. Then in Kabhakasam we can find a situation. Kabhakasam, again, it is a Kabha predominant condition. After the Shodhana Kriya, whenever you make the recipes for Samsarjanam, this Sarshabatailam is used for that that seasoning type of preparations in this recipes. Samsarjana Kriya. So after Shodhana, we find Samsargim Jasyayo Jayed Yavamudgakulathanaihi Ushnarukshaihi Kadurkadaihi Kasamardaga Vartaga Vyaghriksharakanaanvidaihi Dhanva Vailarasaihi Snehaihi Tilasarshabanimbajaihi. So Snehaihi Tilasarshabanimbajaihi, we find the use of Sarshabadaila. Similar many conditions may be there. I just thought of a couple of situations which may be of interest for you all. Fine. Then I think this Sarshabatailam is used for regular use, regular cooking in many parts of the country. So the such practices evolve over a long period of time, maybe hundreds of years, maybe, which could be due to the environmental peculiarities, climatic peculiarities. Then the so both Desham and Kalam could be influencing, and many other factors also could be there, like the availability, easy availability of all these things could be contributing in it. And in due course of time, all these usages, in spite of the negative attributes of the Thailam, it becomes some sort of an Ogasatmya. So they use it very comfortably, and we will not find any of these adverse effects for such usages. But if somebody else start using these stuffs abruptly, maybe coming from a different environmental condition or climatic condition, and start living in a new place and start using whatever is used to in that particular area, I think it will be creating issues. Then this Sarshabam is of different types again. There is Shveda Sarshabam, Rekta Sarshabam, and also a bigger type of Sarshabam which is known as Rajiga. So all these things are used as Thailayonis, and they have got maybe a little bit of different types of guna or properties. We can find such usages in some of the Nikhandus, which I am not going to in detail, but there are, in general, I think the property is not much different. In certain contexts, I think some interesting attributes are there, like see these Shveda and Rekta Sarshabam, and also for this Rajiga, they've got a Kesya property. which is not specified otherwise with the Sarshapa Taila. So in certain Nikhandu texts like Nikhandu Ratnagaram, we find Shvedayas-chaiva Rektayah Rajigayastu Tailagam Keshyam cha. So they are of maybe of specific interest for this their Keshavardhaga property, Keshyam. Then it is Mutra Krichra Karam. So adverse effects are also there. So like the other Tailam, this Keshya property may be on local application, Bahya Kriya, and this Mutra Krichra Karam could be in Abhyandharopayoga. Then Tvagdosham, Vadadosham cha, Puyam Jaiva Vinashed. So it may have an extended usage in Dustavranas because it reduces or it clears the Puyam. Then Gunastvanye Sarshabanam Tailatulya Idiritam. Okay, forget it. Then one very interesting usage of Sarshapa Tailam, what we find with Kashyapa Samhita is that is very interesting. It is about its specific interest in Pliharoga, and the usage also is very interesting. It is advised as Nasyam. It is not very commonly seen in other textbooks. In Kashyapa Samhita, this Sarshapa Taila Nasyam is supposed to be or is documented as extremely beneficial in Pliharoga. Kadutailobadesham du vakshyami plihanashanam. That is how Kashyapa documents it. Kadutailobadesham tu vakshyami plihanashanam. Then the next line is Nasyada paramam kinjid naushadham pliha shandaye. So like Kadutailam, there is no similar aushadha prayogam in Pliharogam. Nasyada paramam kinjid na aushadham pliha shandaye. So that may be of an interesting lead as far as the Pliharoga Chikilsa is concerned. Fine. Then there may be, of course, many other usages. All these Thailam, which are not very frequented in our food recipes, they find a reasonably good place in the folk practices, especially in the folk veterinary practices. All these things, that Eranda Thailam, Sarshapa Thailam, all these things have got very dominant presence in the folk veterinary practices, which should be collected from your own regions, and they should be documented and put it in the public domain, so that they will not be misused by the corporates or the other agencies for their very simple modifications of such usages and collecting their patent rights. So that is also a responsibility. Fine. Then next is about Akshataila. That is what we find in the text. Aksham swadu himam keshyam guru pittanilapaham. Aksham means Akshatailam or Aksham Tailam. Swadu himam keshyam guru pittanilapaham. So it is Swadu himam Shida. It is Keshyam, very specifically a very conspicuous presence of Kesha Vardhagatvam, Kesha Ranjagatvam. It is Guru and it is Pittanila Haram. Generally, this Kesha Ranjaga type of Dravyas are Pittanila Haram. Fine. So Aksham Swadu Himam Keshyam Guru Pittanilapaham. Generally, these all the usages of Akshatailam is related to the Bahya Prayogas. Generally, there may be exceptions, obviously. As I told in the case of this Sarshapa Tailam, Akshatailam is also there in usage in folk practices or in the so-called kitchen pharmacy or the so-called grandma's medicine. We use these Akshatailam for many Kesharanjaga or Keshavardhaka prayogas. There are many tips that way, preparing homemade hair oils or murtha tailas, which are used for the promoting hair growth. But it is not very easy to source Akshatailam, and whenever it is available, it is quite expensive also. We can find the addition of Akshatailam in many commercial brands of hair growing hair oils or growth promoting hair oils. I do not know whether they really contain in it or only on the labels. Anyway, it is famous for its cassia property. Then it is in Ashtanga Hridayam we can find certain usages of Akshatailam, like see, there is in Shirorogam, in Kabala Rogam, we find this conditions like this Indraluptam. So there we can use this Akshatailam. Then in conditions like that Siddhamam, sometimes there will be growth of white hairs. So in such conditions, we can use this. In Indraluptam, there is one common usage of making mashi out of this kushta mashi. So that kushta mashi, when it is made along with the akshatailam, is seen to have a superior property over the normal tilatailam or any other medicated oils. Generally, what we use is we use this kushta mashi in we call it like Indra Lupta mashi, and that is used along with Malatyadi Tailam or Prabhaundrigadi Tailam or Jatyadi Tailam. So instead, I think we can use Akshatailam, which gives better results. In Netra Chikitsa, we find one Nasya Tailam, which is prepared out of Akshatailam. In Ashtanga Hridayam itself, it is there. Of course, there are some Padha Bedam in different texts, which is not very relevant. Tilatailam, Akshatailam, Bhringaswaraso Osanachanidyuha, Ayasapatra Vipakvam, Karodi Drishter Balam Nasyam. That is what we find in Ashtanga Hridayam. Tilatailam, Akshatailam. So either Tilatailam or Akshatailam. That is one way of interpreting it is, or you can use a combination of Tilatailam and Akshatailam and prepare Nasya Tailam in Bhringaswaraso Asanacha Nidyuha, and prepare this in Ayasapatra Vipakvam Karodi Drishter Balam Nasyam. This is a very good Nasya Tailam. So that is the basic information or the commonest available information without much effort what I could gather about Akshatailam. Now what we find in the text is about Nimbaja Tailam. Natyushnam Nimbajam Tiktam Krimikushta Kabha Pranut. Natyushnam, na ati ushnam. That means it is ushnam but kinjid or alposhnam, or at least it means that it is not Shida. Natyushnam Nimbajam Tailam. Then it is Tiktam and Krimi Kushta Kabha Pranut. Krimi Kushta Kabha Pranut. I think Nimbatailam is used for many purposes in agriculture and in veterinary medicine. Human consumption is somewhat very limited. In agriculture, I think this is used for many of this natural pesticides and that sort of things. And that neem cake is also used as this growth promoting manures or many other interesting usages in traditional agricultural practices. Then Nimbathailam is also one among them. There are many veterinary usages for this Nimbathailam. In Swedanam, especially while we make this Patrapodala Svedam, that Patraghandas, the pieces of leaves or whatever we make out of it, in Patrapodala Svedam, generally we add a few types of patram leaves, then this jambiram, then this scraped coconut. So all these things will be fried along with a little bit of this Nimbathailam. That is one traditional practice. Then only they are made into that potteries after adding a bit of lavanam as well. There are many types of pottery svedam, and in many types of the pottery svedam, sometimes in churna pindam or churna pottery svedam, that churna means again fried in little bit of nimbathailam first and then made into the pottery. So that way it is in common usage. And one of my gurus, Padma Shri Dr. K. Rajagopalan sir used to make some sort of a mild improvisation of usage of this Nimbathailam. He advised to apply this Nimbathailam on the body of the person with diabetes or madhumeham or prameham before subjecting him or her with Sweda Kriyas, because basically pramehis are asvedyas. So, but in certain conditions, we may be forced to do at least a controlled Sweda Kriya in some pramehi. So, some sort of a preventive, of course, it is not, I do not know whether it is a researched method or properly documented one, but it is a traditional practice. What Rajagopalan sir also used to do in his clinical practice, and he told us that okay, better you apply little bit of nimbathailam all over the body before doing the Sweda Kriya. This Krimi Kushtha Kabha Pranut, this Krimi Pranut property is used as utilized by applying this locally on sore wounds or some sort of itchy lesions and all. And it is also used as a preventive local application for conditions like this Weil's disease. So when farmers they get into this their fields before getting into that water, these days I think they are quite there are quite scary information about the risk of contracting conditions like this Weil's disease and everything. So to safeguard themselves, they apply this nimbathailam on their legs, especially this soles of their feet and their toes, to safeguard themselves from getting infected with this sort of fatal fevers. Fine. So that is all about Nimbathailam. In classical references also we find certain usages of Nimbathailam, especially in Krimija Shirashula. We can find one Nasyam which is advised with Nimbathailam. Vidanga Swarjigadandi Hingu Gomutra Sadhidam Kadu Nimbe Ingudi Pilutailam Nasyam Prathak Prathak. So that is one situation. And in sometimes this Nimbathailam Nasyam can cause some complications. So if you are not very sure, don't go for Nimbathailam Nasyam as easily as we use Anutailam or some other regular medicines. There is one extended usage advised in this Shirorogam, that is the Nasyam for 1 month, and there are some conditions. When you go for this Nasyam for 1 month, you should have to be Ksheerabhuk. You have to be on a milk diet, and Yati with Brahmacharyam or Jitendriyata. This was studied once in Trivandrum Ayurveda College, but I couldn't make out what the exact outcome was, because there was not a long-term follow-up was not done, if I understood it right. Fine. So that is about Nimbatailam. Then the properties of Nimbatailam are documented in many ways. We can find some of these folk usages getting their place in some Nikhandu Granthas as well. And one can find some interesting usages of Nimbatailam that way also. Like Nimbatailam Kinjidushnam Tiktam Krimi Kabhavaham Kushtam Ranam Vadapittam Pittam Jarsha Jaram Tatha Shobhodaram Rektarujam Kabham Ja Pittajwaran Jayed. Shobhodaram Rektarujam Kabham Pittajwaran Jayed. But I don't find these references from the Nikhandus are as very authentic, because many of these Nikhandus are much inferior, I should say personally, than what we, as far as the information what they provide is concerned, when compared with the information available in the Samhitas, because they are very regional in their understanding. So you cannot get some sort of a universality in the inputs from the Nikhandus. Many a times, of course, exceptions may be there. So that is all about Nimbatailam. Then what we find next in Ashtanga Hridayam is Umakusumbhajam Chaushnam Tvagdosha Kabhapitta Krit. Umakusumbhajam. Two similar tailas are put together, Uma and Kusumbham. So Uma Kusumbhajam means the tailam taken from this seeds of Uma as well as seeds of Kusumbham. Uma Kusumbhajam cha Ushnam. This is Ushna. And Tvagdosha Kabha Pitta Krit. So it is Tvagdosha Krit and Kabha Pitta Krit. Tvagdosha Krit and Kabha Pitta Krit. Uma is other name of Uma is Atasi and Kusumbham. So these, I think these are in usage. Actually, these two stuffs are there in our society these days. Uma is the linseed or flaxseed oil, and Kusumbham is the safflower oil. So they are in common usages for various reasons, like they protect the heart or something like that. This flaxseed oil has become, flaxseed itself has become a very fashionable stuff. Flaxseed oil is very common, very expensive also that way, and many claims about the contents of this flaxseed oil, like omega-3 or omega-6, omega-9, all these things are there. So it is very good for heart, very good to prevent aging. That way, antioxidant, all these things are stuffed into this these oils, Uma Kusumbhajam. But basically, we don't find any good properties in the classics. Uma Kusumbhajam Chaushnam Tvagdosha Kabha Pitta Krut. Nothing else is, no positive attributes are given. Nobody will be forced to use this Uma Kusumbhajam Tailam, seeing the properties listed in the Ashtanga Hridaya. Uma Kusumbhajam Tailam, Chaushnam Tvagdosha Kabha Pitta Krit. Again, there may be many other reasons for using it, like augusapmium or availability. All these things could be that influencing factors. This achakshushyata of these thylum, that is documented very specifically by certain authors. Achakshushyata, like kusumbhadailam amlam syadushnam guru vidahicha chakshubhyam ahidam. So it is very clearly told. It is ahidam for chakshus. Balyam rekta pikta gabhapradam. So that balyam property may be of little bit attraction. Anyway, I think this usage of the food is always influenced by many factors where the Shastra finds very minimal space in the among that influencing factors. Many other factors could be there behind this usage of thylam, not thylam, many other foodstuffs. Then regarding the uma, that atasi thylam, which is that flaxseed oil, that is also documented. Like atasi prabhavam tailam ghanam madhura pichilam vibhage kadu cha ushnam cha vada shleshma nivaranam. So such properties may be utilized. That is also a option. And there are many folk usages of all these thylam, like applying for local usages in burns. It is a practice to use this uma thylam along with the lime, which is documented by some authors, local authors, as very effective. Fine. In Ashtanga Sangraham, we will find many other types of thylam. Even otherwise, I think there are many thylam, types of thylam available these days. Everything is looked for their content of thylam. And one thylam which is becoming very fashionable these days, and which was put on the very notorious side earlier, is coconut oil. Maybe some 20-25 years back, or maybe 30 years back, I think this coconut oil was blamed for its tendency or its potential for causing this coronary artery disease. With a lot of scientific evidence, interestingly, with a lot of scientific evidence, we in Kerala are fond of or even addicted to the usage of coconut oil for everything. Wherever there is a space, we will add some coconut oil in it. So we have some sort of an obsessive type of usage of coconut oil. But interestingly, it is there for again hundreds of years. So it has become some sort of an augusapmium for Keralites. And interestingly, again, it was blamed as the prime reason for the increased incidence of coronary artery disease among Keralites. A lot of studies were there, a lot of papers were published with scientific evidence, and it was, and this literally this coconut usage of coconut, all sorts of coconut and the coconut oil including, was put some sort of a behind the bars. It was no more usage of coconut oil like that. And now, interestingly, all those scientific evidences are put upside down, and this is a celebrity these days, not in Kerala alone, but world over. Now, coconut oil is supposed to be one among the best oil for human consumption, which has got excellent stability in that whatever it is, saturated or unsaturated or trans fat or whatever it is, even if it is heated deeply. So now it is a popular information in the public domain that coconut oil and this olive oil may be considered as the best for human consumption. And for Indian type of cooking where we heat the oil very deeply many a times, coconut oil is supposed to be the best. And it has got many other newly researched properties, like it prevents aging. Then it has got excellent preventive capacity as far as this degenerative brain disorders are concerned, like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. So it is a they're in the limelight these days. And in our traditional practice, forget about the kitchen, in the traditional Ayurvedic practice of Kerala, this we can find n number of preparations of this coconut oil. Everything which is otherwise advised as thailam in the classics, we prepare it as Kera thailam. And especially for Murtha thailam, Abhyangam, we use Kera thailam only, exclusively, whenever it is possible. So that is the way in which Kera thailam is accepted in Keralam, and the very name of Keralam itself is borrowed from the Keram. So that is the connection between Kera. And this usage of Kera thailam or Nalikerodbhavam, we saw the usage of Nalikera Jalam, Nalikera in the Toya Varga. Even though the Nalikera Jalam is there in Ashtanga Hridayam or Ashtanga Sangraham, we won't find the usage of Nalikera Thailam or Kera Thailam in Ashtanga Hridayam, Ashtanga Sangraham. But in later works like the Nikhandus, especially in Kayyadeva Nikhandu, we can find very detailed information about the usage of Nalikeram and its various parts. And the Naligera Thailam is documented as Naligerodbhavam Thailam Brahmanam Balavardhanam Keshyam Pittanilaharam Dandyam Madhuramevacha. So an additional property which we hardly find with any other oil is Dandyam, Dandahitam. So Nalikerodbhavam Thailam Brahmanam Balavardhanam Keshyam Pittanilaharam Dandyam Madhuramevacha. So it has got many properties which is similar to Khritam as well. And there are many traditional methods of extracting Naligera Thailam, and one of such method is to extract the coconut milk first in your kitchen only, and then heat it in low grade temperature for a long time to convert it slowly, to convert it oil. And that coconut oil prepared has got a very, very attractive and charming smell, and a very fascinating taste as well. And this is used very extensively in Kaumara Tantra, in Balachikilsa, for internal use, for external use, for everything. And this is also now available in the market. Of course, market decides the trend. And this is supposed to be one among the healthiest oils available, and for internal use as well, across all age groups. And now virgin coconut oil is available, which is quite expensive, cold compressed virgin coconut oil. And I think there are many products coming from Philippines, Sri Lanka, etc. And they are the market leaders that way. So Naligerodbhavam Thailam Brahmanam Balavardhana. I used to make almost all Krita Kalpanas, like especially like Kalyana Kritam, which has got very excellent properties in Manasika Roga Chikitsa. I used to prepare the same yogas in this Kera Thailam, and they give satisfactory results. So that is an extra information regarding Naligerodbhava Thailam or Kera Thailam. Then in Ashtanga Sangraham, we have got many other Thaila yonis mentioned. many of these, or at least some of these source plants or source materials are obscure in their identity, whereas there are many things which are very clear in their identity and are popular in usage in different sectors. Karanja nimbaje tikte natyushne tatra nirdished kashaya tikta kadugam saralam vrana shodhanam भृशोष्ण तीक्ष्ण कड़ुगे तुवर आरुष्करोद्भवे विशेषाद कृमि कुष्ठघ्ने तथा ऊर्ध्वाधो विशोधने. Ashtanga Sangraham. So Karanja Tailam, Nimbajam, which we already saw the Nimbaja Tailam. This Karanja Tailam is also getting studied for its anti-cancerous properties or anti-tumor properties, all these things. Karanja Nimbaje Tikte Natyushne Tatra Nirdishail Kashaya Tikta Kadugam Saralam Ranashodhanam. Then Bhrishoshna Tikshna Kaduge Tavara Arushkarodbhave, Tuvaragatayilam and Arushkaratailam. Bhrishoshna Tikshna Kaduge, we already mentioned it earlier. And Visheshad Krimi Kushtaghne, Krimi Kushtaghne. Tadha Urdhvadho Vishodhane, they can be used for Urdhva Shodhanam as well as Adho Shodhanam, Ubhaya Shodhanam. Then there are many other things like Dandi Mulaga Rakshoghna Karanja Arishta Shigrujam, oil from the Shigru Bijam. Arishta Bijam we already saw. Suvarchale Engudi, Pilu, Shanghini, Nipa Sambhavam, Sarala Aguru, Devahva, Shimshabasara Janmacha. Tavara Arishkarotham Chatikshnam Kattu Asrapitta Krut. Arsha Kushta Krimishleshma Shukramedo Nilabaham. My request is, whichever is available in your region, your place, your desham, and as I told earlier, please try to document them and put them in words and publish. Maybe the traditional veterinary usage of such oils, or traditional agricultural usage of such oils, or traditional folk usage in human health care. All these things are to be documented and published. Agencies like the FRLST, you may be knowing, Foundation for Revitalization of Local Health Traditions. Earlier, its name was FRLST. Now it has developed into a university. They have done excellent work in this regard of documenting and publishing this sort of traditional knowledges, to put them in the public domain, which is very essential in our times. So all these things are to be done that way. At least maybe some of our time should be spent for that purpose. Then again, there are many things. Akshadi Muktaga Akshola Naligera Madhugajam. So a mentioning about Naligera Thailam is there, but it is not detailed. Trabus Orvaru Pushmanda Sleshmadaga Priyalajam Vadapitta Haram Kesyam Sleshmalam Guru Sheetalam. So it is a some sort of an umbrella type of mentioning. Many things are put under it, and a generalized mentioning is given. Then Pitta Shleshma Prashamanam Sriparni Kimshugotbhavam, Sriparni and Kimshugam. The oil from them are Pitta Shleshma Prashamanam. With that, Thaila Vargam is concluded, and there is a mentioning about which is the best among the Thailam and which is the least preferred one. Tilatailam Varam Teshu. Teshu, among all these Thaila, what we have discussed so far, Tilatailam Varam Teshu. And Kausumbham Avaram Param. That safflower oil is Kausumbham, Kusumbham. That is Avaram Param, Param Avaram. That is the last or the least preferred oil for human consumption. Tilatailam Varam Teshu, Kausumbham Avaram Param. Then along with this, we find a very loose reference about Vasa and Majja. They are also snehas, and they couldn't find a place along with the previous description of animal fats, so they are mentioned here. Vasa Majjaja Vadaknau. Vasa Majjaja Vadaknau. Bala Pitta Kabha Pradau. Bala Pitta Kabha Pradau. It increases balam and it increases pitta kabhas as well. Vasa Majjaja Vadaknau. Bala Pitta Kabha Pradau. Mamsanuga Swarubaucha. Mamsanuga Swarubaucha. Mamsanuga Swarupam. Their nature, Swarupam, is according to or in tune with the source of that Vasa and the Majja type of things. Mamsanuga Swarupam. Their Swarupam is in tune with the Mamsam of that particular animal. So if you consider the Vasa and Majja of maybe this Varaham, okay, they will have the properties of the Varaha Mamsam as well. That way, Mamsanuga Swarupaucha. Vidyan Medobi Taviva. Medas from these animals, that also will be having the properties of this Vasa and Majja. So 3 types of animal fats are included here: Vasa, Majja, and Medas. I hope everybody will be knowing the difference. Majja is the sneham extracted from the asthi, that asthi purana sneham. So it is exclusively from the asthi. Whereas Vasa is the sneham extracted from Mamsam. Shuddha Mamsasya Sneha Savasa Parikirtida. It is so. And this Medas is the fat what we find as such. It is not extracted from the Mamsam, but you can get it as such when animals are slaughtered. That yellow or yellowish white color deposits of this Medas can be taken, and they will be heated and kept. Again, you can find this collection of Medas as a home remedy also, especially in this treatment of boils and scalds. This Vasa, especially Kukkuda Vasa, is used. Kukkuda Medas is also used. They are kept, and they are having some usages as Anjanam in Vada predominant Drishtigada Rogas. We can find the usage of this Vasa and Medas. For internal use as well, we find this Vasa and Majja. So another reason for including this Vasa, Majja and Medas along with the Thailam is that when this Thailam, Vasa, Majja and Medas, when they are used together, it is known as Chadusneham. There were many preparations in our traditional practice which are known as Chadusneham, Panjasneham, like that. So these 4 together, Thailam, Vasa, Majja and Medas, these 4 Sneha Dravyas, when used for medicating or preparing some sort of a Sneha Pagam, such Sneha Pagam is known as Chadusneham. There are some other types also like Panjasneham, which are there in the traditional textbooks as well. So that is another reason why these 3 are included along with the Thaila Vargam. So Vasa Majja cha Vadakhnau Balapitta Kapapradau Mamsanuga Swarupau cha. In the Snehapana Vidhi, we can find some details about these sort of Sneha Dravyas, as we saw in the case of Kritam and Thailam. Their specific usages are also given where this is to be used. Like in Snehapana Vidhi, we find वादादबध्वभारस्त्रीव्यायामक्षीणधादुषु रूक्ष क्लेशक्षमत्यग्नि वादावृतपथेषु च शेषौ. Then specifically vasatu sandhyasthimर्मकोष्ठरुचासु च तथा दग्धाहदभ्रष्टयोनि कर्णशिरोरुचि. So Vasa has got the specific usages like Sandhyasthi Marma Koshta Rujasu Tadha Dagdha Ahada Bhrashtayoni Karna Shiroruchi. I have personally tried all these the usages like this Majja and Vasa in this specific situations of Sandhyasthi Marma Koshta Rujasu, and I can say that with confidence that they are very, very effective. Unfortunately, they are very guru, very tough to get pagam. So it is very difficult to find the right persons for taking the advantage of all these dravyas. But they are very effective that way. So then there may be some extra information. Let me see. In Kashiva Samhita, we find some special properties of this Majja and Vasa. It goes like this. Majja Vase Visheshad Vadakhne. Majja Vase Visheshad Vadakhne. Vrishya Sammade Saiva. They are also considered as Vrishya. Balinam Tat Satmyanam. That is very important. Balinam. Because they are very difficult to digest. So you should have the balam. Balinam Tat Satmyanam. Again, it should be Satmyam also. Prajabalayusthirikarane. Prajabalayusthirikarane. Prajakarane, Balakarane, Ayukarane, and Sthiristhairyakarane. This Majja and Vasa are very effective. That is one observation by Kashyapan, Acharya Kashyapan. Fine. So that is all about the Taila Vargam and this three extra things what we saw. Now we will switch over to the Madhya Vargam. I think, yeah, it is the Madhya Vargam, which we will start in our next session because we will not be able to give at least an introductory part about Madhya Vargam, which we will continue in our next session. Okay, Nilesh.
Yes, sir.
There are some points for discussions, like is it safflower oil or sunflower oil? Yeah, safflower oil, not sunflower. Sunflower oil is maybe a newly introduced one. Then if both Adasi and Kusumbha Tail property are same, then why only Kusumbha Taila is described as Ava? It's a very good question. It happens many a times because ultimately, even when you take two different dravyas for comparison and everything will be similar, still the particular dravya will be acting as that dravya in a very unique manner, in spite of their similarity in property, in gunas with the other one. That is what we call as the particular the swabhavam of dravya or dravya prabhava. Ultimately, see, if you take two sneha, as I told earlier, naligera thailam and khritam are having very similar properties, but you cannot substitute kera thailam, sorry, khritam with kera thailam in the exact sense. When there is a comparison, obviously, especially in the case of this medha karatvam, in spite of the similar properties of these two snehas, obviously Kridam is superior. So because of that characteristics of that particular dravya, this guna or all these things are known as the avayavas of the dravya, whereas the dravya is the avayavi, or these properties are known as avayavas and dravya is known as the samudaya. So the samudayam, that finds the most superior position. So that could be the reason for putting Kusumbha on the receiving end here. Fine. Should I add Vasa in Matra Avasti if Agni is good? Again, it's a good question. Generally, they are not included. They are not included in the, even if the Balam and Agni Balam are all good, they are not seen included in the general context. But of course you can try. I have tried and I have tried that Mahasneham also. I have tried. There is one preparation called Mahasneham, which is not generally meant for Vasti, but I have tried it and with somewhat good result. Then can you put some light on sunflower oil? Definitely we will try. We will try to gather some information on the usage of sunflower oil in our next session. If I miss it, please remind me. Okay. So I think with that we will conclude today's session. Thank you very much and wish you all a very happy, nice weekend. Okay, Nilesh?
Yes, sir. We can conclude today.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, so much. Thank you, everyone.